my name is Laura Harnett, and I'm the founder of Seep. Spent about 20 years in consumer and retail, so both as an operator and then also as an advisor, so for Deloitte and Booz, and my last role was a director for Selfridges, and so it's probably a bit bonkers that I kind of threw all of that big corporate safe career and decided to become an entrepreneur. I just went for it and decided that I could be the sponge lady, and so set up Seep. Seep's mission is to shake up the dusty household essentials category for the good of people and planet. I basically saw a gap in the market, so there's quite a few eco cleaning spray brands and eco kind of chemical brands, but the second half of the cleaning journey, which is kind of what you use with it, all the tools, it was all very much kind of plastic, old-fashioned plastic brands like Vileda and Brillo. So biggest challenges for funding, I think for a D2C brand, the biggest challenge, there are two. One is funding inventory and stock. And so actually you're buying 3 to 6 months ahead of when you think you might actually get the cash in the bank, and obviously as you're growing, you're funding a big kind of revenue number 3 to 6 months down the line, and I think that's been really challenging. Investors typically don't want to fund inventory, although they probably know that a bit of it can be funded that way. Revenue-based finance is pretty prohibitive. They charge roughly 10% to fund inventory, and so no one really wants to do it. And then eventually you basically you can get access to kind of bank finance, but only once you've got some good track record behind you. So I think the second challenge is as a sole founder, I don't have a co-founder, we don't split thing, so I'm having to sort of run quite a bit of the business day to day, as well as obviously I've got an amazing team who really help with all of that, and but it just takes time away from the business, really, fundraising. So it's not been something up till now that I've really enjoyed that much. So we've explored revenue-based finance, so that is both with the kind of specialists out there, so we've looked at things like Clearco and Outfund, but we've also actually, what we found is that places like PayPal and Amazon actually give you much faster decisions, and they have that complete, even more immediate access to what kind of revenues you've got coming in. So actually we found they've both been more competitive than the Outfunds of the world and the others. So that's what we've explored. We've had a bit of grant funding, which has for product innovation, which has helped fund some kind of development and that sort of thing. We've put sort of directors' loans in, and we've done a sort of small friends and family fundraise so far. We've thrown lots of things at it. Really understanding the kind of hierarchy, that raising equity finance isn't the be all and end all. I think that was probably the number one thing. You see a lot on LinkedIn, the massive raises and the valuations, and there's a huge amount of kind of kudos that goes to companies that raise lots of equity funding. And I think what I realized was that, what I learned was that that's probably one of the most expensive forms of funding available. But I think it's, unfortunately, when you're at our size and growing, I do think if you want bigger chunks of cash to really grow ahead of the sales curve, there aren't that many, it's pretty difficult to get enough of the other alternative forms of funding to get that far ahead for real proper growth funding. I think I was intrigued about the alternatives, and I think there's just very little chat about it. There's not that much information out there about what the other sources of finance are, or a way of evaluating what the differences are and what the merits are of one versus the other. And I think I got something out of it as a founder, definitely, but I'm also an angel investor, or I was until I set up Seep, and so quite a few of the kind of portfolio companies I've invested in have also been quite interested in it, and so I've been able to share what I learned a little bit in that. So I think it's really, it's helped on both fronts.